Hi there, it's Gabrielle Nicolay from SpeechKids. I'm a pediatric speech pathologist, speech therapist with 2 decades of experience serving young children and their families. And it's really fun to teach little kids to talk and help their parents to understand them better. And last week we talked about throwing, and I proposed something that some of you might have found a little radical, which is that there are times when your toddler in particular, but some other kids with, maybe who are late to develop some impulsivity control, that one of the reasons that kids throw is sometimes just because they're like, they don't know what else to do with something. And if that was radical, I definitely want to hear from you. But today we're going to talk about a more common reason that kids, maybe not more common, we'll see, that kids throw, which is that, and I'm going to give you fair warning here, it's not because they're bad or trying to make you angry. It's communication. So we're going to take a look, and I can hear some of you saying, like, that's all fine and good, but my 3-year-old knows how to talk. They have plenty of communication skills. They don't need to throw. And that's partially true. But I want to unpack this a little bit, and so we'll go back in time for a second to an 8 or 9 month old who is sitting at the table, is starting to be mobile, is starting to pull to stand. And so you've heard me talk about this a bunch, but anytime we're looking at speech and language development, we got to look at everything else too, communication development. So we're looking at motor here, so gross motor, how kids move around the environment, is impacting then what they're able to do with their bodies, right? Because they're getting stronger and they can pick things up and they can hold on to them. They can also release them. Okay, so up until now, it has been the case that, you knew your child was happy because they were smiling and cooing or quiet, and you've known that your infant was angry or sad or frustrated when they were crying, right? It's like a 2-step process, communication was. It's either good news or not so good news. And the good news was easy to figure out, and the bad news was also pretty easy to figure out for the first 4, 5, 6 months, right? Because it was either they were wet or hungry or tired. Okay, now you've got a different thing going on. You've got a child who wants to exercise some control over their environment because now they can. Again, that motor piece that's coming on is helping them pick things up and manipulate their environment. So they want to move stuff. They want to move stuff around. Okay, with this ability to move stuff, now comes the ability to throw. And so now we're getting into why throwing happens for communication. Okay, so I imagine this. This is what I imagine in the mind of a 9-month-old, 8-month-old, 7-month-old sometimes, who's sitting at the table and who maybe is about to start throwing. Here's how I imagine this goes. Wow, I am so over this. I'm finished. I want to go play. What does a person have to do to get some help to get out of this harness that I'm in and move this disgusting food away? Let me see if I can help with that, because the grown-up over there is completely distracted. So now I, the 9-month-old, am picking up the food and I'm throwing it over the side, right? So then what happens is, hey, this is really awesome. My adult comes running over when I throw the food. Do you see how that's setting up a dynamic that goes into the future? All right, so if you sort of unwind everything all the way back to the beginning, to the first time that your child throws, how you respond in that moment can set up a really long life in the life of throwing. And so if we've given a big reaction to our child's throwing, and they're delighted by this, right? They're bored with the food. In this case, we're using food as an example, right? They chuck it, and somebody comes over to entertain them. That's awesome. That's like the best possible result for them. Not so much for us. Rather than and we can see if we can go back to here, because I want to get into like what you can do about this too, right? Which is saying, for example, because we notice that our child is getting bored and might want to get up, looks like you're finished, and clean them up and take them out of the chair.